Welcome to the Spirit of a Badass, where we celebrate stories of courage, hope, and resiliency. I'm your host, Alecia Jacobson.
Hello to my badasses. Thank you for listening today. We are in the middle of March, and this is the very interesting thing. Well, I know that some people, there's like certain months they don't like, certain time of year they don't like. And I have heard so many people recently talk about like hating March for various reasons, but I actually really love this month, even though it's gotten totally disrupted at times. And I was thinking this morning, what is it about March? And I think it's this anticipating of spring and what's to come and freshness and newness. But also, I started falling in love with my husband in March, not intentionally. I had no business at all falling in love and doing all of that. You've heard me say that I had every intention of getting cats and never, ever, ever getting remarried again. Well, that did not happen. So this month, I think we reminisce on it and we talk about it. We have our accidental date day and we celebrate that. And I think this morning, he's not here. He's traveling, but he said something and I snarked at him and he's like, is that any way to talk to me on our 13-year and 3-day dating anniversary? So this month is fun for me and for us. And I love spring. I love warmth and the sun is out. A couple days ago, I sat outside and just let the sun hit my skin and it felt actually warm, like warm, late spring type warm. So that was delightful. So today we're going to get into something that came up in one of my women's circles. I think it's an issue for so many of you out there. I do not have this issue. I have plenty of other issues. This is not one of them though. This idea of to-do lists. But some of you out there feel so damn guilty about your list, the undoneness of your list, the feel that it needs to get done. It's like a heavy burden of how much you fucking suck. And that is how some of you go through this life with your to-do list. And I think we need to chat about that. We were talking about it and one of the women was kind of sharing and then said how after she completed her list, her very intentional list, there was a feeling that was like she wasn't done. It was this very uncomfortable feeling. And so many conversations came flooding back to me as they were all sharing, because this is something that, gosh, so many women that I have worked with deal with this feeling of guilt and shame about being busy and doing. If you kind of reflect back, if you have, extended family that you spent any amount of time with on holidays or dinners or things like that, you probably can remember your grandma or older aunts or something like that kind of just flitting about in the kitchen and never actually sitting down and enjoying the meal. And they certainly could have if the intention would have been to sit down and enjoy the meal. But there was some idea that they had to be doing instead of being and enjoying what they created. And I think this idea has been passed down to us that you have to be busy to be worthy. And that's just fucking not true. I saw this TikTok diagnosis of people coming home, like say your family members, and let's say you're just chilling on a couch, and that you feel the need to jump up and do something and act busy. I still do this. If I am just sitting and I am maybe by myself and people come home, I will jump up and act like I'm doing something, almost like I'm not allowed to sit, which fucking why? And this is way beyond my scope. but maybe some therapy about this if you have this too. But from TikTok, it goes back to childhood and, maybe parents having expectations that you need to be busy and being bored is bad and you have chores to do, whatever it is. I don't really remember having that, but I do have if somebody comes home, I need to be acting like I'm contributing to making the household go wrong, as if I don't fucking already do that. I mean, how stupid. Anyway, I do that. So that's one way that this shows up for me. But more specifically today, just turning over this idea of your list. Most of us keep a to-do list every single day. I write out my calendar. So I have a calendar on my computer, but I also write out my plan for the day with the time. And then I like to check off the little boxes. And then I have next to it a to-do list. And some of the things have been carried over day after day. Like there's one, I have to call a teacher and have a conversation with a teacher. I also have to call the post office. Those have been on there now for far too long. So I could use a little guilt and shame to maybe help me get these things done, because I do not give a fuck that I have carried them over. I feel nothing. I feel nothing about it. And I don't get them done. So there's space for all of us here. However, some of you ladies out there, and men too, I don't know, maybe you have this. My husband has never mentioned this to me, nor have any of the men that I worked with mentioned this to me. So I don't know if this is a thing for you or how you handle it. But some of you have so much guilt for not getting all the way through your to-do list. And if you carry things over, you feel like you have not done enough to kind of earn your place in the day. I don't fucking know. And then let's say you have gotten your things done, or you have a couple of hours that you have nothing. It's empty. And you have this overwhelming need to fill it because resting or reading or whatever it is that would be like a chill vibe feels like laziness. And I just want you to consider, where the fuck does this come from? And why is it that when you have free space, you feel like you need to fill it? Because I know from talking to the people that this does not feel good, and that most of you do not want to have this. So how do you want to be with it? Because you shouldn't feel guilty for not getting your to-do list. I mean, I literally have a to-do list every single day, everything from laundry to making doctor's appointments, because there's a lot of fucking doctor's appointments all the damn time, to work that needs to get done. Like all of the things, you have your work bucket, you have your family bucket, you have your extended people bucket, and the list is never going to be done every day. Even if you get everything checked off of it, all your people got dressed that day. You're always going to have toilet paper to buy. Like there's always going to be something. And if it's something that is making you feel like shit because you have this list and making it sort of just like a time filler, I feel like it's just like that busy work, like the glorification of busy, then that's a lot of time being wasted in life doing and feeling in a way that you really don't have to feel. So I just want you to push back a little bit, because one of my big things is, life is fucking short and we are all going to die, and you should not feel like shit any more than is necessary. I mean, there's all the things, that are going to make us feel crummy, right? But something over a to-do list, we should not feel bad about. We should not feel that our time was not spent well, unless maybe it fucking wasn't. But you should not feel shitty or guilty or anything like that, or like you have to do things just to be accomplished in that day. So take, a weekend, for example, or late evenings. This is where I see it the most, that if all the things don't get done and it's 9:00 at night, you're staying up until 11 o'clock when you damn well know you needed to be in bed an hour ago, asleep, in order to feel good and functional the next day. But you feel like things are left undone if you don't get everything done. Or if you've left it undone before, the next day it feels kind of like icky. Like if you drank too much and you have a hangover the next day, it's kind of like that. Like you don't get it done. And then the next day you feel guilt and shame and like you're playing catch up or whatever the fuck it is. And we just don't need to do that. It's unnecessary. So how can we reimagine your relationship with your to-do list? Because it's just the way you're thinking about it. It's just your perception of this list. You have meaning about it. I've actually been really thinking about this because I think a really good, now this is also charged, but I think this is a really good example because if you go driving down the road, maybe not all of you, but if you go driving down the road and you see a Tesla right now, you might have an emotional response. You are going to be thinking some thoughts about seeing that car. You might be judging that motherfucker driving that car. And that did not happen likely a year and a half ago. Maybe it did, but likely your thoughts, you think differently now when you see it. There is a different emotion elicited. And that just goes to show that by the thoughts that you think, you can have a completely different response. Okay? I think that makes sense. It made sense in my head. I was thinking about that this morning, about how a year and a half ago, nobody thought a thing. And now I see a Tesla and I get real ragey, real ragey. So, but that is a choice that I'm choosing to think that and choosing to feel that. I'm choosing to give that energy. And I could easily choose differently and try to neutralize that feeling. So hopefully that makes sense to you. Take your list, okay? Consider how you currently engage with it, how you feel when you have to transfer things over, the underpinnings of making a list. Are you making it just because it's something like I'm neutral with it? I don't give two shits if I'm carrying something over. So I would say that is a very neutral space to be in. If you're carrying something over and then you're shaming yourself for doing it and just like beating yourself up, that is unnecessary. And you need to neutralize, hopefully, that feeling and kind of pull on that thread of why the hell are you making yourself feel trashy for carrying something over because it didn't get done? And then the other piece of this is, how do you relate to free space? How do you relate to downtime? What is your thought maybe about other people resting? Do you think they're lazy? Do you look at people and be like, why don't you get up? Why don't you do something? And that is really some good information. Like sometimes when I am doing the things, the parenting things and the sort of, just the daily shit, and this doesn't happen anymore because my husband is much busier, but he would be taking a nap on the couch. And that man is lucky to be alive, because my idea about that was that if I am up doing the things, bitch, you need to get your ass up too and do the things alongside me. No, that's wrong, because he very much deserved rest. He very much could have done that, but it really pissed me off. So there's some information there, right? There's some information in those things that we think. So if you have this idea about people around you with it, just kind of look at that as information, and how can you maybe learn from that? Maybe take a little look at yourself of like, what are the thoughts that you're thinking? Did anybody around you make comments about people being lazy or what they should be doing or anything like that? Just do a little examining of, where these thoughts have come from. It could come from, I don't know, friends, family, religious establishments, social media, anybody, a friend's family. I mean, these seeds planted in our minds can truly come from anywhere. But I think especially for, women and women that are over the age of 30, I feel like our younger counterparts maybe fare a little bit better. And hopefully they will continue to fare better with separating the idea of all the shit they need to do from what they actually want to be doing. So that takes us to what you actually want on your list every day. And what would it be like to add what you actually want? And that might be reading a book. That might be sitting out on your deck or your porch or outside in a hammock and reading a book. It might be going for a walk, not for a walk for any other reason, but just to be outside and listen to the birds. Whatever your thing is that maybe right now there's some discomfort if you do because you feel like you need to be doing more, put it on your fucking list. Be uncomfortable with it. What I'm describing is you. If you feel shitty when, you're engaging with your list, if it makes you feel bad, then there's going to be discomfort when you do differently. If you start maybe making your list shorter or maybe saying, you know what, that doesn't really matter. It's not a big deal. I don't have to have all the toys picked up by the end of the day, or maybe only one room I'm going to make sure is tidy. So when I walk down the stairs in the morning, it doesn't make me feel like, oh shit, all this stuff is everywhere. Whatever it is, maybe it doesn't need to be on your list every day. Maybe you can play around with, only having it on a couple days a week and play around with this. That's, I think, one of the most impactful things that I have been working with many women on right now is that you can be trying out new things and it doesn't mean anything. So you can play around with this and see, how does it feel if I actually schedule some downtime? How does it feel if I want to start disrupting my thought around my trashy thinking of not getting all the boxes checked off? How do you want to be thinking about that? What do you know for sure? Because I can damn well tell you, it doesn't mean that you're any less for that day. It doesn't mean negative things about you. It means that you put your energy into different things. It means that maybe you sat and had downtime. It means that maybe you did an impromptu dinner. It doesn't mean anything negative about you. It only means what you make it mean. And what do you want to make it mean? That's up to you. So my kind of go forth and do would be to think about, how do you want to be feeling when you're engaging with your to-do list? Are you happy with how you feel right now? And if not, how do you want it to feel? How do you want it to look? When you check all the boxes, what do you want the experience to be at the end of that? And intentionally create that feeling as you are going through your to-do list, as you are adding things to your to-do list. Maybe you have different lists. Maybe you have a master list of things that would be nice if these things got done. Maybe you have kind of a batching where, Mondays, these are the things. So you don't even have to think about, okay, I have to carry all these days over. It's just like, if it doesn't, like, for instance, I do laundry, sheets and stuff. I do every single Sunday. That's sort of my batching. I did not get that done last Sunday. I could not tell you why. I don't know what happened. I don't know if everybody else was doing laundry on that day. I cannot remember. And you know how I feel about it? Nothing. I feel nothing about it. I did not do it on Monday. I am just waiting for the next Sunday to roll around and I'm going to do it then. No big deal. Do I wish my sheets were clean? Yeah. Is it the end of anything? No, I hardly fucking take showers anyway. It ain't that big of a deal. Like, there's some things, obviously, that you probably can't roll over. You might need some underwear. You got to do your laundry, or you got, work things to do, or whatever it is, obviously. But if there's some things that just don't make the cut, it's okay. And really intentionally choosing, how do you want to be with this? How do you want to feel about it? And then thinking, maybe there's things that are really important, like your workouts or your time with your family. And it's like, okay, these are the things that I want on the to-do list These are the things that I want to make sure that I'm putting my energy into. These are the things that when I'm putting my head on my pillow at the end of the day, I can reflect back on and I will be like, yes, I did that. I enjoyed that. I took my time and energy because energy is currency. Your time is currency. And I put it where I want it. I didn't just put a bunch of shit on my list for the day and do it. And like, do you even remember what it was? Like, is it a big deal? There's that like line of shit that matters. And then the busy work shit. Does it matter? Are you putting it in the place that it needs to be? There's too much pressure to be doing all of the fucking time. Too much pressure. So my offer to you would be to just look and see what your relationship is with your to-do list and then start picking it apart a little bit if you need to, and then look towards the end result that you would like. And maybe you have no fucking idea. Sometimes when I ask people, like, what do you want to feel like? They're like, well, I have thought this for so long. They really don't know. They don't have that contrast of feeling anything different about it. Well, then guess what? Just get dreamy. If you, right now you feel like shit, what else could you feel? Peaceful? Could you feel joy for doing things on it that you liked? And maybe you have a after to-do list ritual where you actually go back and are grateful for the things that you did. You give yourself props for doing the things, and you kind of rewrite the story of, well, you could have done more, or you should have done more, or so-and-so does more, to hell yeah, I set out to do the things today. And I'm really proud of myself. I'm really glad that I got these things done. I put my time and energy where I wanted to, and I was really intentional about it. You know, we don't need to just put things on there to just put them on there because I think we have to. What the fuck do you want to be doing in your day? And then go do it, right? And maybe you like to do all the things. If that like brings you joy, great, but it shouldn't bring you also guilt and all the crappy things that go with it. We deserve to feel good. You deserve to feel really fucking good. Life is too short to feel shitty about dumb shit that doesn't matter. All right. Have a fabulous day. Thank you for listening. If you know somebody that you think would like this podcast, I would love it if you shared it. And if you are a list maker and have any sort of like, hey, this hit home, I would love to hear it. Send me a message. I would love to hear the sort of after effect of anything. I love getting your messages. So thank you. All right. Peace out. Welcome to today's segment of Badasses in the Community. Today I have with me Melissa Tuttle Carr, the public health advocate who lives in Madison, Wisconsin. For over 7 years, she has served in a volunteer leadership for Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America, a national grassroots organization working to end all forms of gun violence. She currently holds a role of chapter leader overseeing Moms Demand Action work across Wisconsin and working alongside over 60 volunteer leaders from around the state. Welcome, Melissa.
Thank you so much for having me.
How are you? I'm thrilled that you are here.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
I know you are in a busy season. You are doing all sorts of advocacy out there, and I see pictures of you at the Capitol. So thank you first, before we get started, for the work that you do and the community involvement and getting people involved to hopefully make a difference out there in Wisconsin and then beyond.
Well, thank you very much for the kind words. I appreciate it. I promise you, though, that anybody can do what I do, and hopefully we will gain some new people into our movement today.
That is the absolute goal. Okay, so tell us what you do, the organization, how you got involved with it, who it serves, and how it started.
Yeah, so Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America is a national movement. As you said in the intro, it's a grassroots movement of volunteers, and we're working to end all forms of gun violence throughout the United States. It was started in 2012 by Shannon Watts after the Sandy Hook tragedy. We now have chapters in every state in the United States. I oversee the Wisconsin chapter currently as a volunteer. And we're a part of Everytown for Gun Safety. So if you ever hear about Everytown, we are one of the organizations underneath the Everytown umbrella. And there's also a Students Demand Action for students that are high school and college age. And we also have an Everytown Survivor Network for gun violence survivors. So we are up to nearly 11 million supporters across the country. And we have local groups all across Wisconsin as well. And we take action on gun violence in various forms.
And who can get involved in this? I know a lot of listeners might be older, they might have young children. What's your demographic of people who get involved to support this?
Absolutely anybody can get involved. And it's actually interesting because when I was preparing for this, I was looking at some of my things from my time in Moms Demand Action over the years. And I realized that my very first event was 8 years ago tomorrow. And it was our advocacy day at the Capitol. And when I went to that, I just wanted to get involved because I knew I needed to do something to end gun violence, and enough was enough. But I went to that event and I knew nothing about gun violence prevention or legislation or anything. I didn't even like talking about gun violence, but I went in wanted to take action. I wanted to step in, and absolutely everybody listening to this can do that too. So while we were founded by a mom and our name is Moms Demand Action, it's for anybody. So dads, aunts, uncles, cat and dog moms, grandparents, absolutely everybody. And then, as I mentioned too, we have the Students Demand Action group that's for high school and college age students that want to step in and do this work as well. So if you're listening to this, you can get involved.
Yeah, wonderful. And when you say get involved, what does being involved look like? I'm sure there's lots of different ways that people can get involved. So what are some of those opportunities?
It really depends on where you live. As I mentioned, there are local groups in various places across Wisconsin and then in other states across the country too. So if you have a local group near you, you might be able to get involved in person and locally. So for example, I'm in Madison, Wisconsin. So we have a local group here that's very active. And sometimes we'll have in-person meetings where we'll learn about local events and actions. Sometimes we have awareness and advocacy events. We'll do presentations about our Be Smart program, which is our safe storage program. If you live in a place like that, you can do things that are local. If you can't get involved locally, or if getting in person somewhere is more difficult, we have a lot of things you can do virtually as well. We do have a statewide virtual meeting coming up on March 18th at 7 p.m. That's for Wisconsin, but there's often nationwide calls as well. And then with each of these events or calls, we always end with a call to action. And so we'll always have actions for you on that day. So it might be calling your legislators in support of certain legislation or speaking out against other legislation that might be harmful. Or it might be, joining our call team if that's something that you want to do, to call supporters and invite people to events, or go to another type of event that we might have. So there's always something for you to take action on, because we just want to make sure that we're not just talking. We want to make sure we're actually doing, and that can take on many forms.
How much time commitment would you say that this could possibly take for those people who maybe have very limited time and those people who have an abundance of time? Is there a spot for everyone here?
There absolutely is. We will welcome any time that you have to give. If you are busy and work and maybe you're a parent or whatever, if you can make one meeting and take one action that we give you at that meeting, then that's fantastic. Because if everybody did that, that is a groundswell of actions. But if you have a ton of time and want to serve in our leadership or help us plan events or things like that, then we would absolutely welcome that too. And, we'll take whatever you have to give.
I was at your, would it have been January in person? I think it was January meeting.
I think so. Yeah.
And I will just say, everybody was I don't do in person. I don't do people.
I get it.
Somehow I've built a life around people and crowds of people. I'm like, eeh. But I gathered all my friends. I messaged people. I'm like, we need to go and we need to do. And then they have now branched out and they are also doing the action pieces. So just by one person doing something, you have such a great opportunity to then bring your people. So if this speaks to you, gather your people, just send some text messages. And how can people, if they're like, yes, this is something that I want to get behind. And I will say, this is something that, I mean, even if you're doing other things, this is something that after I'm getting the emails, this is something that you can only have a few minutes and gather your people, and you can make an impact with this. So how would people, if they're like, yes, this is me, what is their next step?
That's a great question. So there's a few ways that you can see what is available to you and what you want to do. One of the first things you can do is you can text READY, READY, to 64433. And then that will get you signed up with the national group, and you'll start to hopefully get emails and text messages about upcoming events. You can also see what's coming up at momsdemandaction.org/events. You can search by your zip code and a radius, or you can search by the state. I would recommend searching by the state if possible, because sometimes the virtual events don't always show up based on where you are in the state. So there you could see, like I mentioned, that statewide virtual meeting we have coming up in Wisconsin on March 18th. You could see that and get signed up for that or our other upcoming events. And we have an app, which whenever somebody tells me about an app, the first thing I think of is I don't really need another app. So I know this is tough, but I promise you it is awesome because you can get notifications of events and actions in your area. And so you don't have to then be seeking it out. You'll get something that says there's a meeting coming up in your area, or we need you to take action and contact your legislators today. And so I absolutely love it. And it's, streamlined and tailored to where you are. So you can find, it's called the Demand Action app. You can find that in your app store for Google or for Android and for Apple, or you can text app to 64433 and get a link to download. So those are all ways that you can get plugged in and then get connected. And we really hope to see you at an event soon, whether it's in person or virtually, like we saw you when you came to ours. So that was wonderful.
Yes. And I will say the app, I 100%, if you are listening to this and you even have a tiny inkling of this is something I would like, the app is freaking amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, truly, because you can make a difference, and you don't have to, you can sit on your damn couch and do something that is making a difference. And then you can see, I know that's how I RSVP to the event. So then I get the reminder that, hey girl, you're going to this, or you can send it to other people. They give you a link. They make it so easy. And I know that I've had people reach out to me when I put it on social media and I just send it to them. So this would be an app that I would say, if you care about shit in the world, get this app.
Totally. And then for those of us that, if you ever join us in volunteer leadership, we get special notifications too about things for us as well. So it's just super robust and just fantastic for everything. So I totally agree. And there's definitely stuff you can do from your couch if you don't want to people, and you can, find all that stuff on there too. So that's great. And I also wanted to say that when you contacted your friends, that is awesome, because that's relational organizing. And that is the best way to get people involved, is to have that personal contact from your friend saying, we are going to this event, or download this app. So thank you for doing that. And I hope everyone else does that as well.
Yes, me too. And that is the whole, it's funny because I'm sitting here, like, I'm doing these community involvement so that I can get people in community. And I'm like, I want to be on my couch without community.
It's okay. I'm like that a lot too, but that's okay, because there's a place for everybody. You can do the in-person stuff, or you can do the from the couch stuff. And, it might depend on the day too. Maybe you're having a couch day, and that's totally fine.
Exactly. All right. Is there anything else that would be helpful for people to know about you, your organization, how to get involved?
I think I've covered most of it, but I just want to say it is such a fantastic organization. And like we've talked about throughout this chat, it's definitely action oriented. And I think that's so important, because we need to take action. Like, we have to step up and get off our couches every now and then, because I know it's hard, because I'm the same way, and do these things. And so when you come to our events or look for something to do, You're being given actual, tangible, physical actions that will help either nationwide or legislatively or in your own community with community groups, connecting with other groups on the ground, doing these things in your community. And so I just highly recommend it to everyone. It changed my life when I joined 8 years ago. And obviously I'm still here. And I really appreciate everything the organization does. And I'd love to see all of you at an upcoming event.
Wonderful. Thank you. And I will be at the virtual event, and this will be out, I believe, next week, a week ahead. So this is in time for the virtual event. So text the number, get the information, and I hope to see your little Zoom faces or however it is out there at the virtual event. All right. Thank you, Melissa.
Yeah, thank you. So thank you for having me, and thanks for getting this information out there.
Spirit of a Badass is a Lit Path Studios podcast and is produced by Jamie Gale and Alecia Jacobson. Music by Shane Ivers. We'll be back with another inspiring interview. Until then, keep your spirits high and your energy badass.